email and my phone message today. We were going to try to cancel the meeting at that point because obviously there isn't much to talk about tonight, so we'll have a very quick meeting hopefully, if he doesn't talk too much. But other than that, we had to, legally, we had to cancel the meeting before 24 hours before the meeting started. So we couldn't cancel. So we had a miscommunication. I'll take responsibility for it because normally I would cancel out a meeting with such a little bit on the agenda. In the future, we're going to try to avoid that. Dave and I talked earlier. He's going to send me the proposed draft agenda before we send it out to the commission members, just to see if there's enough on there for calling a meeting. So sorry to take you away from your garden work and recycling or whatever, but here we are. Chairperson Thino here. Vice Chair Hutkowski is supposed to be viewed as being excused. Alder Craig Stevens. Here. Lieutenant Mike Sobiak. Here. Melissa Fluke.
Here.
Patrick Sorrell. Not here. Dan Teeters.
Here.
Okay. Approval of the agenda and approval of the minutes. We usually take those together. Is there any objection to taking B and C together? Okay, is there a motion?
Make a motion.
Motion by the lieutenant. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Alder Stevens. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Regular business, report from the police department on the monthly report. Lieutenant.
Has everybody seen the report? Okay.
Yep.
So with, between April and May, that's actually, it's listed in the May report, it's actually between April and March's data. The accidents have stayed relatively similar. There's a slight increase in April. Hit and runs were up a little bit, injuries were up slightly, and property damage were down. April we had no fatalities, so January through April we had 0 fatalities, which is good. Traffic stop data, 36 OWIs, which is fairly consistent for March as well. Our total stops were up from March. I know March we're down. It was the low point for the year. We're back on the rebound and headed back upwards. And probably part of the reason for the rebound is with the warmer weather, we're doing more traffic enforcement using BOTS funds, the Bureau of Transportation Safety. So I know end of this month is Click It or Ticket national mobilization last week and a half into June, so it's a national enforcement initiative for seatbelt enforcement. So we have quite a few enforcements at the end of the month. Over the Memorial Day weekend, we have 3 OWI task forces happening throughout the county. And we have 3 dates in May for seatbelt enforcement as well. I also applied for a $60,000 grant with BOTS for speed enforcement, which we should be getting from June through August. So they limit it to a 3-month period. So we got that along with
What can that be used for?
traffic speed enforcement.
No, but is it for overtime or
Yeah, it's
additional help? Or?
It's for overtime to put officers in certain areas, specifically these highlighted enforcement areas. BOTS program wants us to use these predictive analytic maps, same ones that are in my monthly reports, to deploy those resources. So we would use the hot spots that the BOTS program pinpoints as problematic areas, and then use those funds to pinpoint those areas for more enforcement.
Okay.
So we have that, so we have even more enforcement over the summer months. Speed boards are back up as well. I don't know if any of you have seen them, but they are back out. They went back out at the beginning of April, and they'll continue to be out until it gets too cold for the batteries to operate. One other thing that we're gonna be doing, I think it's June 3rd. It's the first week of June. We're teaming up with Wello for pedestrian enforcement. So we'll be doing what they call a Frogger campaign, and agencies throughout the county are doing it as well. So we'll pick an intersection and we'll put an officer there, more likely 2 officers there, and then have people act as pedestrians that cross and stop anybody that's not stopping for people in the crosswalks. So we have that coming up. They'll have three of those dates this summer. I shouldn't say this summer, this year. One's in June, another in August, and then another in October that ties up with Walk Your Kid to School Day or Walk to School Day. So that's what we have coming up. Any questions?
Questions?
I have a couple.
Sure, go ahead, Sam.
So, I mean, the report is, it seems as though it's pretty focused on traffic enforcement. I'm kind of curious, so when I was at the MPO, a lot of these hotspots that are shown on your map, they're pretty traditional hotspots. Can you give me some background on what the issues are at those locations where we're having?
So the way that I get those, it's the top slab, and I don't know what that stands for. Do you know what that stands for?
Traffic Operations Lab. It's basically out of UW-Madison.
So-
They conduct traffic studies all throughout the state.
So what they do is they take, and you can set the parameters, I always go back 3 years. So it goes back 3 years and it looks at all the traffic data, and I always do for that month. So this would be for the month of May. It looks at 3 years of traffic data history, and it, used through some algorithm, predicts and pinpoints 3 areas or 4 areas of places that are likely to have a crash that results in injury, any type of injury or fatality. So, like the ones highlighted, and then breaks down any flags that are listed in any previous accidents. So, a common one is, speed, teen driver, 65 plus driver. It just breaks them down like that. Does that answer your question?
I'm kind of curious if it has any bearing on if there's design issues, if it's truly impaired driving, if it's
there's no indication or indicator flag for engineering. Like if it was a branches blocking a sign and people don't see it and get in a crash. It's more focused on driver behavior or demographics like as age. I know the big thing that they want to look at is teen drivers, but that's, it's one in each of the 3 listed for this month, but so is 65 plus. 65 plus is in each, 2 of the 3.
But these are people that are cited.
No, this is based off of previous crash data. So people that have gotten in accidents in those 3 locations.
Okay.
I guess I could probably elaborate on some of that. Because, I use the community's website as well. And as Mike had said, it's really strictly focused on anything that's driver behavior that you'll actually find in a crash report. Like impaired driving, teen driving, distracted driving. So they're all behavior flags, with the exception of they've added work zone now to it, which is, not necessarily driver behavior, but it's kind of flagging that something was going on outside the normal. I can tell you that from a staff, at least from an engineering perspective, we do look at those. So like when you look at this map right now, one of the hot spots that we've seen is Mason Taylor, the roundabout there. And another one is right down the road, Mason Packlane. You're not seeing it on here per se. And recently we, as you know, the county's actually going forward with the safety improvement project that is going to occur next year. That's somewhat prompted from these heat maps. I actually went ahead and did a small project there, even in advance of that, where I put in reflectorized backplates. Again, it's based off of some of the predictive analytics. And for Mason Taylor, we're gonna be restriping that roundabout. We're not changing any lane configurations or anything like that, but more or less going with the higher vis pavement marking and durability.
So the reflective backplates, you're talking about what's around the light itself,
Yeah,
right?
the signal displays, the green,
Yeah.
yellow, reds. There's typically what we call a back plate. It's just a back the frame. It's black and it's just a frame around it. One thing that's been looked at over the last 5-10 years in research studies is the countermeasures and benefits to certain applications. And one of those applications at signalized intersections is now the benefit of adding a reflectorized backplate. It's more geared towards nighttime crashes, like if you're identifying if you have more of a nighttime problem, that may be indicative that the signals just aren't being looked at. And this is just another way to grab the driver's attention. And I actually had the opportunity, we just completed this 2 weeks ago, and I went through late last week, and I wanted to make sure it was dark, completely dark, and I went through there, and it makes a huge difference.
I'm gonna make the comment, there's been a lot of comments on that intersection.
There have?
Yeah, people are really noticing the light fixtures. Well, I was in South Dakota last week in Rapid City, every single stoplight has that, the yellow border, and it really stands out, so.
Mhm.
And driving around Green Bay today, I'm like, we need that on every single stoplight, so. Because they're really prominent, and you can know that it's there, so.
Well, here's a way to compare the driver awareness of that. This isn't anything new in the city. I have signalized intersections where I've used that at, and I get little to no feedback. All of a sudden I threw them out there, everyone knew about it, I saw it on social media, everything about it. So that just goes to tell you that people are aware of particular intersections that they maybe don't like driving, they feel a little more unsafe when they're driving them. And they're
Catches your
asking
eye.
why, and now they're going, wow, there's gotta be something to it. And it also, this is a higher volume intersection, entering traffic into that intersection is quite high. So, yeah, it was a countermeasure that I was like, once we started meeting with the county on this and started to come up with things to do, I'm like, I can just pull the trigger on this right away. Like, looked into my budget and I can afford this project this year, let's do it.
Yeah, when you're driving, it really catches you.
It does, it really does. Yeah, take a look at it sometime if you haven't driven it.
There's been a lot of attention on social media.
Yeah.
That's good.
That particular one, yeah, that's good. That's what we want, that's the educational component, and, you're gonna read the comments and get your naysayers and whatnot, but everyone's gonna comment, everyone's a armchair traffic engineer or whatever,
An old school one is Elizabeth University.
Yep.
And it just just tape around it, but that's really faded, so.
That's the first one that I did, actually. And that one I actually did, because I was, when they first came up, the price was ridiculously high in it. And I only wanted to do I think that's all I did was the main line on that one, because we were having a problem with eastbound left turns. So I think it's the main line on that. But I actually used spare, just literally, from the scrap pile, I told them, I said, find long strips of yellow. So I gave it to our sign shop to do. Electricians took them up, sign shop had them, put them on there and everything. And yeah, we had a little adhesive issue at first, and then we got fixed.
Yeah, they're really faded now, so.
But, it's been over
Long
5
time,
years.
yeah.
Any other questions? Dan?
Yep, one other question. So the two of the last areas that you showed, Area 2 and Area 3. So there's 2 bike-related contributing factors in Area 2, and there's 1 pedestrian-related in Area 3. Can we get more details on those?
I don't have the details on those specific crashes. I certainly can get those next month for any details, because I'll be able to pull up those accident reports to see what the contributing factors were involving those.
Yeah, it'd be good to know if it was, bike going contraflow on the sidewalk, and then, it was a right-hand bike contraflow issue, or something else that, you know, you can't really do a whole lot to prevent. But it'd just be good to see those contributing factors for those bike and ped related crashes.
Sure.
Okay.
Here's my question too, if you're gonna look, all these crashes, are they at controlled intersections?
Some of them are, some of them are not. It shows the pinpoint where they are, so some of them are at different intersections within that box. But I can certainly see what the violations and where that,
Sure.
like the main factors for each crash in those areas.
Okay, any other requests? I just have one quick question. What was the circumstance? There was apparently a very bad accident at University and Webster this weekend?
Yeah, on Sunday morning, there's an accident, and that actually has been put out in Nixle tomorrow about it. There was a fatality. I believe the gentleman was 78 years old.
Correct.
Oh.
He's my renter, one of my residents.
Oh.
Oh, boy.
So a Green Bay resident, 78 years old.
Go through the light or what?
He was driving eastbound on a green arrow, or not a green arrow, green light. Another driver failed to stop for a red light.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
And that one, a part of it was failure to wear a seatbelt because he was ejected from the vehicle. So that was a contributing factor to it.
Northbound and eastbound. So northbound motors ran the red, eastbound had the green.
Jeez. Well, you see a lot of people going through the red lights. I see it every day.
And I believe it most likely was failure to pay attention instead of driving.
Okay. Any other questions of the lieutenant? Thank you very much, sir. You have a couple of requests to get back to us on.
So I'll make a motion to receive and place on file.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Melissa. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Item number 2, consideration of possible action. Establish no stopping or standing zone on north side of Emmett Street from Lincoln Street to the west of Shea Street. Alder, did you want to say something?
Sure,
Okay.
give me the opportunity.
All right.
This is coming from a constituent who lives on Shea and Emmett. And there, you see on Lincoln right up there is, you have Weston Foods. And there's a lot of truck traffic very early in the morning, 4:30, 5:30. After they've loaded up, they go down Emmett to go to Columbia back to the highway. And a lot of them, after they load up, they'll stop, they'll park on Emmett to get, I don't know if they're getting their GPS or situated or farting around with some paperwork or something. But the stopping and starting at 4:30, 5:30 in the morning is a little loud. And so if we could just push the traffic a little further west, you know, there's really no housing down that way. So just like to get the flow of the traffic away from residential, if they need to stop, you know.
Now, that final turn on the end, there's no houses there at all, is there?
No, but on Columbia and the north end of Emmett, no. So if we can just put some signage on the eastern, east, you know, further east from Shea up, and a little past, to make sure they go, you know, scoot on by, they would enjoy their sleep. And so would I, because I get, when they're unhappy, they call me at 5:30 in the
And then
morning
you're unhappy.
and say, you know, I just got woke up.
Dave, how do you look at this?
Hey, oh, I should say, well, go ahead, Dave, you can tell them how.
Yeah, this isn't a new issue. This is something, I think, maybe even 2 years ago, I think this is when it first came up. And, you know, there was some discussion already about the no stopping or standing. This situation, I kind of wanted to just, let's try to correct the behavior by talking to Weston Foods themselves. So I had a discussion with them, I know.
I tried
I
and
think
they
you
never
would try.
returned my calls.
Yeah, that's right. They didn't return your calls. I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna call this guy. So I called the guy and I'm talking to him, and he's like, well, I only have so much control over the drivers because they're contract drivers. So I can certainly get that word out to them, but I can't necessarily control them. I can't, reprimand them because they're not my employees. That was kind of his response that he gave me. So it sounded like it must have worked maybe for a while,
I
but
think
there's
it did work for a
probably
while.
turnover of
Yeah.
drivers. Who knows? He could have got a different contract company to do the
Yeah,
work.
right.
And you may have a whole new set of drivers, and my guess is that they haven't really updated any of that, I guess. So I guess relative to the request, I think it certainly is an option to explore. I only pose one concern at this point is, given the time that it's occurring, who's going to enforce at that time? Because our parking division is not on staff at that time. So this really falls back on the shoulders of the police department and, your night shift that would get called out to do, in essence, write a parking ticket on behalf of the city's parking division. So I think enforcement could be a little dicey here, and the last thing I want to have happen is we put up signs, they don't get enforced, and we're sitting back at this table with the same problem.
Yeah.
Well, I would say, if there's signs up, no standing or stopping, you could then let your constituents know if they have an issue, call the police department,
Yep.
and then we could send somebody out there.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Because then we can enforce it as it's happening.
right.
Did
And if
they
we
send-
do end up back where we started, at least people are gonna feel we've done something, we're trying to address it. Right now, they feel what we've done before just hasn't worked. And if this doesn't work, well, at least we're still working the ball, we're working the ball.
Question for you, how long does the activity take place? And the only reason I ask this is, according to what your response was, Mike, is that call the police department and they'll send someone out right away. What if they're only there for 2 or 3 minutes, plugging in GPS to get out of there, then they're gone by the time you get there? That's another thing too, so, at the end of the day, I want this to be solved just like you do, because we don't want to be having to rehash this issue. I just want to make sure we're doing the right thing in order to solve the problem. The other thing I'll mention too is that the condition applies to everyone. So let's just say that these residents on the south side of the road have a graduation, or some other family function, Christmas, whatever, Packers are Super Bowl, and got a big party, and they park on the north side of the street. Well, that zone's gonna apply to them.
Can we put hours on it, just like evening hours?
You could time stipulate it. sure.
Yeah, 'cause I think- 'cause
But
I don't
what happens
think-
if that happens during the day too?
Yeah, I think it has happened at Deer Nay, and that's not so much the issue. It's early in the morning when it's loud and it's waking people up.
Right.
That's where the rubber hits the road.
Right.
Sure.
So that would address my second question then, is that if we do this, then I would recommend that we look at it from a time regulation. It starts at this time, ends at that time. So
Mhm.
what would that time frame be?
I would think anywhere from, is there a normal overnight time frame? And nothing,
The only thing that we ever do for like an overall nighttime regulations are over, on the street parking
Mhm.
between 3 and 5. I mean, if you wanted to do that, but it sounds like they're there at 5:30. I mean,
Right.
you could use any hours you want. It's not like
Okay.
we have to be within some, I mean, if you want to kind of cover it by saying, no stopping or standing midnight to 6 or something like that.
something like that.
you know,
Yeah, that's what I
mean,
was thinking, yeah.
Or even 10, because we have a noise ordinance. I'd just say 10 to 7 a.m., and that
Sure.
covers the noise ordinance.
Okay, yeah. That's a good way.
I mean, who's really gonna have all these companies there at 7 a.m.? Probably not,
Right.
So you're saying midnight till 10 a.m.?
No,
No.
10 p.m. to 7
Seven,
a.m.
yeah,
Or
yeah.
10 p.m. to 7
Yeah,
Yeah,
And
that
like I
covers
said,
the
that
noise
would match
ordinance.
our noise ordinance, and
Yep.
so I think that
That
should
makes
cover-
sense, that
you know,
jives.
People go to sleep early too, I'm guessing, so.
Yep.
Not all of them are night owls like you, Randy.
So it's good for a,
I already taken 3 naps today, I'm good.
so it's good for a code enforcement officer if you can piggyback times and make it a little easier to
Yep.
keep things consistent, so.
Agreed,
Okay,
so, yeah, that would
Sounds
be
like
my
we're in agreement.
recommendation if I think we got an enforcement component behind it.
is there a motion to that effect?
A motion to what Dave said.
Well, even before we get, I mean, I know where we're headed, but what exact limits? I was kind of a little confused on the western limit, so it sounds like the eastern limit would be Lincoln Street, correct?
Yep,
So basically right at this corner,
yep.
and how far? to
Just
the
a
west?
little west of Shea.
So, okay, let's just zoom in here. So there's a residence, it looks like right here, right? Is this a residence?
Yep.
So you're saying like past, like this patch in the road here, or, I don't know, past this garden, whatever? I don't know.
Yeah,
What
yeah,
was
that'd be a
that
good
next
spot
street?
there. That's it.
Dave, are there, do you have a lot line on the north side of the road?
I can't bring them up, this is just Google Earth.
Oh, okay.
So,
I was gonna say, if we can just identify it by the parcel ID number, we'll just say the west boundary of that parcel on the south side of the road.
hold on a second, I can bring a brown dog. Brown dog will show us where that
Good old trusty brown dog.
is. What?
For the piecework, but not parcel work.
See, he's already bringing some experience to the table here.
Yeah, that's good. That's why we pay him the big bucks. Yeah, brown dog is
Yeah,
interesting.
it's a good tool.
Yeah, it really is.
Looks like it's right in the midpoint of the block. So you're saying about right here?
Yeah, I would say
On the north side.
from the corner, wherever your starting point is, to the west line of parcel, it's the parcel ID there.
So basically 905, 907.
Yep.
isn't it?
There you
Yep.
go.
The west side of,
No, is that the correct
So,
street?
so put the sign right here.
parcel 18-53.
Right.
Yep.
So doesn't, no, isn't it the next block? That's the
No,
wrong
I
block.
think-
Let's
Shade.
see. Oh, you meant, no, this is
This
Shade.
is Shea, that's Shea.
So
No, I
maybe-
thought we were going between the other one next to Linden.
No, that's right of way that's in the middle of the park. That
Let's
was
see if I
never,
can change these graphics here.
just go down to the second part there, Dave. And turn
Down
on the
here?
air photo. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's all parkland or something.
Redevelopment Authority.
Yep. And right of way.
You think that's
So-
far enough away from the house for the noise piece?
Yeah, right, yeah, he
that's
could
what I was
park right
thinking.
here and then
Yeah,
that'd
I don't
still
know
be.
if
That's
private.
why we were doing the next street over.
And then this
But-
actually looks like it's street right away, but it's all grass, so, you know.
Right, yeah.
Well, even, let's just say we push it to this point, well, you got these residents even here. So even at that point, I mean, I'd say just get it out of the residential and just force them from this point on. I mean, how many trucks are parking, like one or two at a time?
Yeah, I would think so, yeah.
Yeah, just get them to that area.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's more
Columbia's
nice.
really, yeah, yeah.
So the middle of that block?
City of Green Bay, you got someone who's got property here. I would just say, I don't know, you got this residence here, so even if there was a truck parked here, why don't we just do the whole side right there, and then they can park in this area if they want.
Yeah,
You know, this, like, they won't be bothering anyone over here, but I could see them potentially bothering someone, you know, these neighbors right here, they're sitting right here.
Sounds good to me.
Again, trying to not make this come back, let's kind of,
Okay, what is the name of that street there? That,
Columbia,
oh, that's Columbia, the last one?
yep.
this one's, no, I thought Columbia goes through.
Well, no, Columbia's the, where you're gonna be pushing them down to.
Oh.
right?
Okay.
That's what you,
This
that
one
what you
right here.
referred
Yeah.
to, Dan?
What is, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's Columbia. So basically, we're saying all the north side, Emmett Street in its
Sure.
entirety, north side.
sure.
Okay,
I can't imagine that people are parking there anyway, so, I mean, what demand do you have? You don't have any people living there or anything, so.
No.
Probably nobody parking there anyway.
okay.
So I make a motion to have a no stopping or standing from 10 PM to 7 AM on the north side of Emmett Street.
Second.
That's a good motion.
Okay, any questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay? The ayes have it.
Well, thank you.
Another
Now
kid-
now I don't have
another
to call
kid.
you at 5:30 in the morning.
That's right. And you would hear from me.
Yeah.
He probably has them on
Okay.
auto divert or something.
Thank you, sir.
Yep. See you tomorrow morning then? 9?
Yeah, 9 o'clock, I'll see you.
Thank you, Randy.
Okay,
Take care.
take care.
Next meeting, June 20th. Is that a problem for anybody?
I'm out of
You're out of state, okay.
Hiking the Grand Canyon.
Ah,
Before it gets too hot.
It's gonna be hot, but yeah.
you're gonna do that rather than meet with us?
Yes, I am.
Uh-huh.
Nice.
Okay, we'll put you down as excused then.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn?
Is there a second? There's a second by the lieutenant. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Thank you very much for your indulgence tonight.
Dave, I saw you playing yesterday at the race.